Hey guys, I'm SolGoat. I've been playing ESEA League since season 19, way back in 2015. I have a few ECL seasons, a lot of advanced seasons, and a couple of land wins under my belt, and I've been playing as an IGL pretty much the whole time. Today, we're going to be looking at another NA Open demo from NA Open 1 to 8, and we are going to be on Ancient with Team All 1 and 5 TC playing in the regular season. So let's get straight into the demo. So we're on Ancient. We have Team All 1 on CT side and Team 5 TC here on the T side. I'm kind of excited to get into this demo because we have, I think, some more newer teams. So I think most of the demos I've done so far, most players have been right around level 7 to 10, or I think for one or two of them, they were pretty much all level 10. And this demo, we have a lot more, I guess, newer facet accounts with like less than 100 matches or only a couple hundred matches that are in like levels 3 to 7 range. So I'm hoping that we're going to get some teams that are having interesting approaches to the game and are trying to play some good team CS, but are just a lot more new to it than some of the demos we've watched so far. We are going to go straight into an A exec, it looks like, and just going to be a CT smoke coming in from the T side and 3B. So they have the right site. They will get spotted, and they are being nice and patient, waiting for their nades to come out. Might have missed... Yeah, they missed the donut smoke, unfortunately, but nothing too bad. Let's take a quick step back here. I want to see the T spacing coming out of T-Con. So they get spotted. I like that they're being patient, waiting for their nades here. But they do lose one to the jungle angle. Not bad spacing at all. It does get thrown kind of awry by no donut smoke. But they do a nice job getting site control. They get 2 kills on the donut rotates too, so that puts them in a decent spot until they go down to the retake. A nice retake from the CTs. I like that they're coming in from... They're using all 3 angles of the map, or all 3 areas of the map that they can to retake. CT, Temple, and Donut. It's nice because you can pinch onto a site really effectively, and they were able to time it well enough. You could argue maybe the Donut players were a little bit too aggressive coming in, but their teammates in CT and Temple were able to react well off of it and get some space, so it worked out really well for them. Now we're going to have an anti-eco. Really aggressive buy, maybe not expecting the force spike coming in from the T side here when they have 5 SMGs, and it looks like the Ts are just going to go straight for this early B take. It does get delayed by the early nades, but this is actually a pretty nice exec. They have some good flashes that get them onto site, full blinds the pillar player. They get straight onto site. CT's with a nice spam, but 4v4, this really favors the T side here, especially because they got it so early. They have another smoke that they can use to make this retake even harder, but they don't get it off in time, and they start going down to the nades of the CT side. CTs, though, do still need to cross onto site. Nice molly to Temple. Makes it a lot easier to get onto site. But it does still come down to a 1v1, and now it's almost impossible when you do not have a kit here. Yeah, nice, really nice afterplant from the T side. You could have potentially gotten that... They had the smoke, I think it was on the pillar player. They could have potentially tried to get that smoke off a little bit sooner, just so that you don't end up dying with it, essentially. Though he did just die to an HE, I think, so not a whole lot you can do versus that. And either just smoke long or short, kind of try to funnel the CTs all into one area. But overall, a really nice afterplant. I like playing pillar and close ramp and cave because it gives you a lot of crossfire opportunities. If they go short, you have a good crossfire from cave and close box, with this guy being able to swing out and trade late. If they go up long, you can still like get double fights onto these angles. Once they swing wide to clear this guy, cave and pillar can both swing out to fight him, and ramp can and they also have like a double fight going into short here from ramp player and pillar potentially. So overall, really good afterplants. A nice retake from the CT. This molly here does really well. You can throw a molly from back in this cubby as well. It bounces off of this, and if you throw it correctly, I believe it does get both sides of the boxes, though I'm not 100% sure if it still works with the new CT mollies. Being as small as they are, it's a lot harder to get it on both sides of the box, but either way, you can, like, there's set lineups so that if you want it to bounce and clear this right side out, it can be really good, but they just threw one in so that they couldn't get swung from the left, and it isolates the right, like the fights into the right side, because they can't swing out from here or here. So it let them clear that really well and get a good trade. I'd say the one thing that the CTs probably could have done better here, they had some good pre-nades at a molly at the bottom of the ramp that the Ts didn't have a firefight to extinguish, so it really slowed them down. And what they kind of messed up though is they had the Ts through their nice entry flashes. They flashed over pillar, and their long player got smoked off here. So you have a couple of options once like you're in this kind of situation. You can either see the nades coming in and try to like right click a smoke here so that you can block off this front sight and give you an area around here to fight around, and so that you can play with your pillar player. You can focus on staying alive and then fighting the left side of pillar while you hold the smoke run through and try to fight with them. Or you can just say, okay, they're execing and we have a lot of nades, so I'm just going to fall into cave or into short, and we're just going to play the retake. They kind of do neither of these, so this guy just ends up being blind pillar, and you get smoked off long. You fall back, which isn't a bad play, and you stay pillar, which isn't a bad play. It's just they're two plays that are kind of working opposite from each other, so if you are like continuing to play on a team and practicing, it's just it'd be a good thing to talk about either before a match or after a round like this happens. If they're B execing, do we want to try to fight in front of their nades here and like have a smoke up and play in front, or do we want to try to just get off site and play retake? So that's just one of those things you need to be on the same page about. And other than that, like all your decisions weren't bad in isolation, you're just making kind of contradicting decisions on the two players. But again, really small thing. A lot of teams make that mistake. My team makes that mistake in advance a decent amount of the time. So it's just one of those things you need to be ready for. Nice fast mid play though coming in from the Ts after that. They're keeping the pace up. It seems like they've been going for set plays pretty much every round here. Did an A take on the pistol, a B take round 2, and now they're going into an A split. I do kind of want to go back and get a better idea of what nades they actually threw. They threw that into house smoke really good. Some nice flashes out mid. They do have the B lurk. I don't hate the B lurk. It kind of gives them some insurance into the round. But it does, when you're committing this hard to an exec, it kind of makes it hard for them to be able to do anything. I guess it does help if the CTs are trying to push through cave like this. But other than that, like if you get smoked here, you're just spamming a smoke, and it's hard for you to get super involved in the round. But overall, a nice, good idea. They have the CT smoke, they have house smoke, they have good flashes to get out mid, and they just take this space. They know that they're going to be against CTs that don't have a lot of utility, most likely, after they won the last round, so I like that they're just kind of doing something together. I do want to go back, actually, because thinking about it, I did see the CT donut player. There is something that they probably could have done slightly differently to make that round a bit easier. Oh, no, never mind. They actually did. They actually did it. It just didn't quite pop in time. That flash was a really good flash if you're ever jumping into donut and they're going fast mid. It's a really nice flash to throw. I'm glad to see them throwing it. But yeah, the Ts just were too fast, too much tempo. If there's anything, maybe just you can try to get that flash off a little bit faster, but that's, again, really nitpicky. Nothing too bad at all. Definitely caught off guard, I think, a little bit by the tempo, so that'll happen quite a bit, especially when you're newer to league play and playing like Team CS, so just a good opportunity to learn. Bit of a miss molly as well. One thing is with that flash, if the other team, if they're not throwing pre-flashes out here, you can kind of hold on to it. It's a similar thing with a dust too long, where you might have a player corner holding flashes for you, so that if the Ts take long, you have late flashes to support it. If they're not throwing a lot of pre-nades mid, you can just kind of save the utility, and you don't need to throw it. But again, really small thing. I like that they're throwing the flash. Shows that they watch some demos and are thinking about the map well. And a nice shelf smoke from the Ts so that they can scale up. Again, similar thing. Shows they're doing their homework. Nice job breaking open the smoke. I think that was very intentional. Clears it out, makes it safer to scale into cave here. Really nice timing from the A-Lurk, and they find the mid player. Will they make the decision to just snap over towards A? It looks like they are. I really like this decision. They're all on the same page. They do a good job about it. That's just really nice pair of kills to get because it makes going A incredibly easy. Nice jump finding the lurk timing on A. Not sure if the CT just got unlucky. Maybe they were just trying to rotate around too much, but they're also on a bit of an eco. Where they mainly just have pistols, and I think maybe they might have had an SMG or something in there, so it'll happen on the CT side. But nice job, good reaction to getting those 2 kills, and they have missing a lot of util. Wow. Missing a lot of util on the CT side. Sorry, I was doing a double take for a bit too long. I would have guessed they would have had more money going into this round, but they don't. I do like the setup. So you have a double long setup here, and if they get into both of these cubbies, it can be really good. So you can have your further cubby player, they can try to take contact, and they don't need to get the kill necessarily at all, but you need to take some shots, hopefully do some damage, and then stay alive. Bait them into trying to swing wide to clear you out here, and then once they do, they shouldn't be ready for this guy close. He should be able to get 1 to 2 kills from this close angle and let you swing out and take another fight. Plus you have a teammate coming in from CT, so really good spot for the CTs here. If they can get these, if they don't just instantly die, essentially. I'm not trying to say that as like a way to flame, it's just if you get insta headshot by an AK, that'll break just about any setup. And your player rotating in from CT is getting smoked off, so good patience from the Ts to wait for the flash. I think the CTs got maybe a little antsy and might have swung a bit too wide, but they do have a teammate rotating, so it actually works out really well. So the setup I'm talking about is a lot better if your teammate's going in through short. I think they have... Oh no, they didn't have the teammate rotating in quite yet. But they do get out of long. It gets them into a less committed setup because they just swing like to get out of long, which is also a pretty solid decision, to be honest. If you want to commit to the setup, just playing these 2 cubbies can be really good, but they end up doing the same thing. That's the most important part, is that you need to be on the same page with whoever you're playing with, and they're very much on the same page. They double swing here, so even though one dies, they do get the trade, and they get out of long, so that they can then play with their teammate rotating in. So it's actually a really good play from the CTs to do that and be on the same page. I really like that they're on the same page there, because that pretty much just wins them the round, just right off the bat. I do like that the Ts kind of... they didn't overcommit to it. They might have been able to have a better timing with an earlier flash over long, but they do a good job of making sure they're fighting long with the flash rather than just going in 1 by 1 or dry. So again, on the same page is really good. A bit unfortunate that it doesn't work out well from them, but I think the CTs just had a good reaction there more than they played it poorly. Bit of a missed elbow smoke. I don't mind this CT setup, but it does get a lot harder when the elbow smoke's that deep out. Did they have any nades up cat? No, I think their cave player maybe was just trying to do a little too much here. They do have that shelf smoke up, so he's trying to play a little bit aggressive, maybe expecting them to take cave, and doesn't really get a great fight. But I think that's a situation where it's a good play if he asks for a flash from the mid players, essentially. Like if he has a flash that goes into that smoke, that peek is really nice, but we don't have the flash, so it ends up being a really favorable fight for the Ts. But a really nice job playing retake here on B. I think that's a really good reaction to losing your cave player like that. You still have a lot of util, so you can play retake until your team rotates in. Then you could potentially play from sight, but playing retake there is really good, and they get some spams. Puts them in a really nice spot to try to attempt this retake. Nice molly as well for pillar. Should make it a bit easier. On slightly different pages with that timing, but it doesn't end up mattering. They have really good spacing after that and are able to make the retake happen. So nice reactions there, even though they lost the early fight. Or like the entry fight. And now it puts the Ts on a pretty bad buy. As we have 5 TC taking an eco. They do have a hero AK, so it looks like they have a plan with it. Looks like it's going to be another fast B. Go back a little bit just because I missed. Nice set molly for the fast ramp. Good flashes. Solid enough flashes. They're in a bit earlier too. They do get a nice trade, but it seems like they just don't really win their fights. One thing that could have been better, I think when you have like a hero AK, you want to make sure that you're letting it have an impact in the round. So if you have this AK, you need to make sure that it's not just getting put in a 1v4 situation like this, because this is kind of the worst case scenario for it. You really want this, you really want to make sure that you can get this gun to be in a spot where you can like get some kills and drop some rifles for your teammates and have people that can like still help him out later in the round after they maybe get that first kill. He did get flashed at the bottom of the ramp, so that might have been their plan to have him be up there with the MAC-10s and get a little bit more involved with the AK earlier, and he just got flashed and didn't quite make it up the ramp. But either way, another missed elbow smoke, a bit unfortunate. And again, with the flash, you can save it, especially throwing the second one. You're just kind of like going for a random timing, so if you miss it, it's just minus 200. You could try to be a little bit more purposeful with your utility usage, but that's a pretty small thing. I do like that they get the mid info and kind of fall back into sights, kind of similar to what you do on Mirage. Good spot and is able to get two as well, and I really like this angle. Able to get another one and stay alive for a little longer. Sets up a nice retake. They have really good rotates, so it's a lot easier to commit more to fights when you have teammates already close and rotating, because a lot of the times teams or T-sides won't expect it coming in from their exec. I think the one thing the T's probably could have done a bit better there is just maybe put a little bit more pressure somewhere else on the map, just because you're going so slow. Either like a few mid flashes, or even you can just like throw some nades from spawn, so like the shelf smoke that you've been throwing to deny info on cave, or you could smoke cave off itself. Just like something small to make it a little bit, just to try to slow those rotates down a little bit, but nothing too bad. I think that was a miss smoke. This time I think he called for the flash this time. I think I saw that. Let's double check. Not that it's too big a deal. Oh, he smokes that off himself. And then they have a flashover bucket that he takes the peek with, so pretty good. I do think it would be better, probably, like if you can have a resmoke for elbow, I guess they didn't have one up, but yeah, if you can resmoke elbow and just use the elbow smoke instead of this left side smoke here, or right side smoke here on cave, that can be a bit better. But that's, again, a really small thing. Decent play from them. I like that they're getting a flash for it this time, and he gets the kill. Doesn't overcommit to the fight. T's, though, with a solid reaction. They see them playing aggro cave, so they go up ramp. So that's just where they're grouped, and they have pistols, and it's just a good reaction to go up ramp there off of that. But they don't really get any of the kills going their way, but they only have deagles, so it's nice to get a bomb plant regardless. Another very similar setup. Mid player's playing really aggressively considering he's alone. And is going to jump up here. Does get a rotate in. Isn't quite able to finish his kill, but nothing too bad. 2 kills through the smoke there really bails him out. Now this is a really awkward spot where you kind of have 2 lurks. You're in like a 3-on-3, so when you're in a 3-on-3 and you have like, they have one person lurking ramp and one that's out mid, it's pretty nice to just kind of look for fights on both of them. It gives you a really good chance if you're able to find a couple 50-50 duels. You're more likely that you'll win at least one of them and figure out where you want to have the bomb go, either through donut or straight onto B. This time they win the B fight, lose. They also won an A fight, so they have a lot of options. Makes the round really easy, even though the A player gets traded out after. That just kind of gives more info, makes the round even easier. So nice job from the T's, kind of when you're put in that awkward situation. If you have 2 lurks in a 3-on-3, it's always nice to go for 1v1s. But yeah, I think the one thing the CTs probably could have done a little bit differently there is maybe they had someone start A and come through donut, and I think that's kind of where the issue for them started, because they do lose a kill here. He just loses his fight. That'll happen. Nothing too big of a deal. But they get the 2 trades through the cave smoke, and then the guy coming through donut, he's just a little too late, so this guy's already walked out elbow and gets a favorable fight on him. So if you just, instead of starting from A and start mid with your teammate, it's a lot harder for them to do that. I get if you're kind of scared for an A exec potentially, but if that's the case, then once your teammate dies here, you just can't really push out like this. And especially once your teammate trades it, there's no real reason to, because the only reason that this pushing out here would work is if they either can't peek you from shelf or you're just kind of desperate to get some kills. So you get the trades here, so you're not desperate, but they can still peek you from shelf, so it's a really risky fight, and this guy's already walked out mid because you kind of had the late timing. But again, a fairly small thing that's really easy to fix, so nothing that's like a super big deal. They do have the op-out for the first time here, playing in the cubby, and a pretty heavy B lean. Another aggressive peek from cave, doing this very consistently and really, and just like lingering, probably more than I'd like, but if you're winning these fights consistently, it's not bad, especially like in these lower leagues where you can kind of aim diff teams a bit more easily. Once you get into higher leagues, it'll be harder to replicate, but it is not a bad idea at all if you're just better at aiming to try to take more fights. And that difference will be a lot more apparent, I'd say, in like open, IM, and main. It's very apparent even in advanced, don't get me wrong, it's a smaller and smaller gap the better you get. But I do like that the Ts are kind of, I'd say one thing that a lot of teams struggle with from lower leagues, and like the better you get at the game, is you overcomplicate things. So I kind of like them just walking up ramp, throwing a simple on the fly smoke. You probably could aim it at like the corner here instead of trying to throw it deep just to get a little bit better coverage. But again, that's a really small thing. But you're just keeping it simple. You're just kind of walking up, having good spacing and like good fundamentals, and like you're trying to take fights together rather than overcomplicating it by throwing too many nades. So that's good from them, but yeah, they just don't full clear the corner. But you kind of have to take some risk clearing angles when you're at that big of a man disadvantage, so nothing too bad from them. Nice jump from the CTs to get an early advantage too. They're really winning these cave fights a lot, so the Ts are going to need to find a way to address that. Going A is not a... going out A or out mid, potentially decent options, because it kind of avoids, it kind of nullifies the impact of playing aggressive cave. If you can kind of avoid those early fights, they are going to spot the op jumping into the corner, but this time the flash really pays dividends as they are out mid. He throws a second one too, let his opera look for the fight. Fortunately, not able to get the trade instantly. He might still get it, not quite. Really though, good idea from the Ts. Oh wow, that must have just been a really unfortunate timing that they walked through his A main smoke on him on. So, nice flash as well to take deep CT. Makes it easier for your teammate. Is he gonna clear? Fortunately, lets his teammate die. Puts it into a 1v1. I think overall not a bad round. Nice job just like taking the timing. Once you get those kills mid, trying and like going out A main, because then all of a sudden once that second mid player goes down, the A player has to be really worried about Donut, which he was. He looks away towards Donut, and as he does, you guys walk out A main, find the timing. Nice job there. I think just you gotta make sure you clear CT, even if you're going through Temple. That's a small thing, whatever. Minor mistake, it'll happen. And then in the 1v1, probably just overcommitting to the fight after making so much noise going into the peak. But again, really small thing, easy to fix. Overall, a really nice CT side coming out. They won a lot of early rounds. The Ts had the potential to get off to an early lead. They're pretty much throwing all their set plays out the gate, but because the CTs were able to defend them, it kind of puts them in an awkward spot. So when you start the game with just set play after set play, it can be a really good thing to do, and like game plan wise, it gives you something to practice for, and like a way for everyone to be on the same page with how you want to start your match. But the kind of downside is if you lose those rounds, it can kind of make it hard to get into the momentum, because it makes defaulting a bit harder when you don't have a decent read for how the CTs are approaching their spots. So I'm not sure if that's the reason why, but it does. But they were definitely struggling with their defaults a bit after that, and yeah, again, that's just a stylistic thing. You can either approach is very valid. I really like this reaction. The B exec caves come in, and instead of just like staying in cave where they can get crunched from both cave and B site, they both push into cheetah, take these fights, and they get even trades because of it. And even trades are really good there for them to be able to get. Makes the retake very possible. They do lose the next fight, but this is still a very winnable round, and especially if they hit some nice shots on the retake. They should know this last guy's cave as well. Dodges the flash, and a really nice 3K from Optical there. But yeah, I really like that reaction. Double pushing into cave here was just a really nice play and the perfect reaction. So in the first half we were talking about the double cubby here. They both have the same double peek, fall back to long at the same timing. That works for them really well there, but they had an early B rush round, I think round 2, where they're kind of on different pages and it loses them the round. So it's nice to see, one, that they get on the same page later in the half, and then another really nice example of playing together here from the 2B players on the first pistol round. Looks like they're going to have, I'm not going to fully commit into this, but it looks like they have enough nades that they might be able to do some sort of set play. They have a cave smoke. It looks like some fast B smokes coming out, so we'll see how the CTs try to hold this. They're going to double long, a really classic anti-eco to just like play these long-range fights with rifles, but they do both get smoked out, so we'll see how they have to react. The Ts are going to end up committing on the site, even if it's a little delayed, and the CT's just committing to playing retake. Nice flashes, that was their flash. Flashing behind the long player to get the clear. They come up from cat. Really nice job. I like that they're not overreacting. They're not panicking just because they're both smoked off on B. They're letting them get the plant. They're playing retake, letting the smokes fade, and using their gun advantage to take favorable fights. So well played from the CTs there. Not a whole lot you can really do as the T side. The only thing that they might have been able to do is buy an extra flash and try to have a plan for if you're playing against a team that is playing retake, but those are things that you can set up like as you go as a team. So especially if you're a newer team, you may not always have those set plays or like those decisions figured out because maybe this is the first time they're really playing against a team that's committing to the retake that aggressively or that conservatively, I guess, on B there. So they may not have just had a good idea of what to do next, and you can kind of add it as you go. But yeah, if they just have an extra flash, they could flash into long or short or cave and try to get some sort of map control in the afterplant, because when you're on weapons disadvantage especially, you really need to get some map control to make that afterplant winnable. But good job from the Ts taking mid control here. We saw the T side in the first half really struggling to get consistent mid control. They had a couple fast mid plays work out for them, but they didn't really have too much success like going slowly towards mid, or they didn't really try it often either. But nice reactions from the CTs. They rotate one in. I like playing aggressive towards A main here, though he might get really, yeah, he gets a bit unlucky with the timing. Good job being patient on the lurk there, kind of baiting your team. Makes it so that you have an easy trade if the guy A main does get kills. Maybe might have needed your team to be a little more aware that they could be close A main, but other than that, I think it's the right play to not just like run at him and give him a chance to push into A main and stay alive. He's kind of forced to play in this awkward limbo area and commit to either fighting you A main or your team on site when you're playing that passive. So nice job from the A-Lurk. And a good job taking mid control. They did so I think the 5TC, they tried a few times to do something similar where they go up cat and split mid, but they'd pretty consistently, they'd either have heavy numbers B so that they couldn't do it, or their cat push would die to the cave player, so they never really were able to make it happen. Nice job, though, like first round in, they're able to successfully do it. They have a couple people mid, a couple people coming up cat, and they really commit to it. They get the late house smoke up, and they're just in a good spot where they can either go through donut or double back if they want to, but it makes it so that they're just in a good spot with full mid control, and they get the donut kill, so they just accelerate onto A and beat the CT rotates. They are going to go kind of slow out mid. The CT's definitely playing less aggressively for mid here in the second half. than Awe were in the first half. Gets spotted donut and falls back. Kind of like this play. Might have been better to have that nade out a bit earlier rather than get for the reload, but again, really small thing. Still gets the molly offs, gets the headshot too. Teammate does go down though. That makes it tough. I'd really like to see you when you're in that awkward spot, try to get a smoke down. You can either like left right click a smoke over these boxes to smoke off donut, or even just smoke A main, and it makes your A player, like, it makes it easier for them if they're playing around here or big box. If A main smoked, they're less kind of forced to take a fight here because they don't have the anxiety of being able to get split on. Or if you smoke off donut, it just kind of stalls the T's out and gives your teammates some time to reposition if they need to. But good rotates to get another player towards A, and you get the smoke off this time, though it's a little late, a little deep. Yeah, and the T's are able to just get in front of it. Nice job slowing it down and being patient from the T side. It's good that they're not overcommitting to it, because the CTs had a really fast rotate. They probably would have got punished if they just went in there all willy-nilly. So nice job slowing it down. Good trade, but a really hard 1v3 to try to win. He won't be able to pull it off. So a really good lead from the T side, and they're against a Nico. But these are the rounds that are really easy to fumble. The game's almost going a little too well. They go fast donut. I like that the CTs are just given mid. They take down ramp too, so they get a lot of info. Okay, yeah. Weren't expecting the B lurk. They saw the T side already speeding up through donut, so they didn't expect this guy. That's a bit unfortunate. But another nice job from the T side. I think, again, though, you're kind of in a similar spot where this lurk, being there at the start of the round can be good, especially if your game plans to try to go mid to A. Though what you probably want to do is either play a little bit more aggressively to look for some info, unless he got the info and then fell back into that corner to hold, then it's completely fine. But either play a bit more aggressively, or I guess there's not a whole lot of a reason where they really need him there if they're hard committing into this, because they got into donut pretty much instantly. I guess it's nice to have him there if the CTs are trying to fight mid. It makes it a lot easier to leave mid and go back around to B if they need to. So it's actually pretty solid, though playing in this committed spot against pistols can be really risky. Looks like they're going to go straight into an A exec here. The CTs are playing more aggressively towards mid, but they're going to get a little punished for it with this early A take. Not the best position either, coming out from the anchor. So I don't think he hears these nades, but what you're kind of doing when you're playing like this, he hears the nades now. So now you know for sure they can be out A. And at this point, with this little information, you kind of just need to fall back and hold this swing. But what you can do is if you just hold a little bit wider here, you can see over this box and spot any heads peeking A main. And it can be a pretty solid angle. It's hard to get kills from it, but it's also hard for them to punish you too hard because they have to be worried about these angles and like still like anyone back plat. So it's hard to just like pre-aim the top of this box here. So you can stand on this ledge and see over the box into anyone crossing A main, get the info, and then just live temple rather than just like playing to hide here. But I don't dislike playing temple at all. You just got to be a little bit more aware that because you're not holding the angle that they can be out. Though I might just be being too critical because he did stutter a bit at one point, so I might have like accidentally hit his Windows key or something as well, which would just be unlucky. But yeah, now CT's in a really rough spot. A exec pretty much went as perfectly as you could want. They get good after plants as well. So yeah, just fully lock the CTs out of this round. Now 12-6. Definitely not an insurmountable lead, but you need to be playing perfectly from this point on if you're the CT side, and it's already hard with a bad buy, missing a lot of util on the first round. They do take aggressive down mid again. Another situation where if you're planning on having the second mid player go into mid, you need to make it's a lot better for them to come through house if you want to play aggressively than through donut. Let's go back a few seconds here. Let's look for the B timing that this guy found. So they know that they're not down mid, so this push, it's a bit of a desperation play. Probably tired of not really having enough of an impact into the round because you don't have any info that they're out mid. And he does go into 3 people, but he does a really nice job getting 2. So it works out for him, even though it's a very risky push and you know, and it's likely that you're going to be running into a lot of numbers there. But it works out. Unfortunate Summit 1G coming in. I think probably overplaying your hand a little bit there. Once you have a teammate die down ramp, so, and he sees on the death cam 1 running up pillar, so, or 1 running up ramp, so getting out pillar and wide swing like this is probably a bit risky. You might want to bait your teammate long a little bit, try to play off their contact, or you could play retake again. But again, you're kind of down 12-6, so it might be less of you not knowing what to do, and it might be like more of just like a mental thing where you're tired of losing rounds and you just want to try to do something to win a round. Nice job pushing down mid this time. They have the second player through house, so they're able to have a good impact, and they spray them all down running through the smoke. Good round from the CT side. I don't know if the Ts could have done much different there. They threw the flashes, they just maybe needed slightly better timing to go out with them, but it's hard to do when you have smokes that are this deep out mid, so I do like that they're kind of changing something up. They had 4 rounds in a row. They had some success going towards A, so they might be overcomplicating things a little bit by trying not to do the same thing twice, because you're up 12-6. It could just be a good play to say, all right, we've won at A couple rounds now this half, like let's make you stop A, and then once you stop A, we'll have lost our first round and we can then change up what we're doing. Because now it's harder for you to go back A because they stopped what you're doing elsewhere, so they're going to be able to commit to like more gamble stuff towards A, potentially. They do go back to A this round. So one thing with this angle is you're playing this angle a little bit too passive here. You can go a little bit closer and you can see this edge. If you see the edge of this wall right here, you can see that you should be able to still see that from the edge of the sign. And then when you see that wall here, when they pass along right here, there's a light in this corner that puts their shadow on this wall. So when you see pros holding a molly from the top of this sign, what they're doing is they're looking for the shadow on this wall and then throwing the molly. So you hear the nade and throw the molly, so that works out really well for you. But if but you're at a spot where they can just crouch out along this lower wall here and get out without you having any info and just kill you with a molly in your hand. So if you just play a little bit wider so that you can see this wall, it kind of makes that a lot harder for them to happen, because you can not put your shadow on this wall, but once you walk out here, there's no way to get out A main without having a shadow on this wall unless you like smoke this light, but then again, you hear the smoke, so that's just, again, a really small thing. You still get the molly off, fall back, hold the run through, get a kill. So, oh, you get 3. Really nice job getting 3 kills. It's just a small nitpicky thing that can probably make that make playing that angle a bit more consistent for you. But overall, really great job. They've been going A a lot, so it's a good adjustment to be in a spot where you can play against the exec. You have the molly, you put it out, it splits up their push. They have one person run through it, and you get the kill on him, which means that to trade him, they have to double run through the molly, and they're just both 1 HP at that point. Since the molly's been up for a second, makes those 2 kills really easy. Really well played. And now 9-12, another full buy. But again, because they changed things up a little bit on the T side, and it didn't work for them, now it's a lot harder to go back A, and they're continuing to have to change things up still. So 9-12, they get the early mid control, and the long smoke is a little miss, which keeps this crossfire intact, but some nice flashes coming in. Yeah, they just don't quite clear the angle well enough, and the trade's not there. I think partially you're missing a short smoke, and And that's kind of what makes it hard, because coming up ramp, you have to... I'm guessing he saw someone in CT here, which is why he couldn't go for the trade. Because you do have your mid player rotating into short. Throw the exec. Really nice flashes, but yeah, he just has to take a fight short, so he can't trade, and it sets this guy up perfectly. All you need is either a short smoke, or you just need a few extra flashes so that this guy can't fight. But yeah, you probably ideally want a short smoke. You maybe just didn't have one that round, or maybe had people that didn't know the lineup. So a really small, easy to fix thing, but one that does need to be fixed a little bit. If you do want to take sight without a short smoke, that's fine. You need flashes that pop over the cubby, probably, so that short angle can be blind and you can just swing up and fight the guy cubby. Because even if they are popping like over his head, they may not full blind him, but they can half blind him still, and if you just swing wide enough here, this can be really easy to trade, as long as you have flashes, so you don't need to worry about this guy. I do like that the T's are taking all their timeouts. If you don't use them, you're going to lose them in overtime, or you're going to lose them after you lose the game, but I guess they still can only go to overtime here since they have 12 rounds. Either way, shows that they're doing a good job getting on the same page. They're going to go for another fast mid play, and they get the control this time. But yeah. Another aggressive cave peek working out. This cave push gets a lot better once you know the other team's going aggressive towards mid, because you know you're going to get more isolated fights. And it also can slow down these mid takes a lot, because now all of a sudden they don't know if they can get to donut without getting flanked. So T's potentially stalling out a little bit here. Oh, I see what's happening. So the round earlier where Optical was jiggling here and it looked like he was just staring at a wall, and I was kind of saying, hey, maybe don't look at the wall. He wasn't looking at a wall. So you could hold this angle from Temple into A main until a patch like a week ago or something, where they kind of silently removed the ability to hold this angle. So when he was jiggling there, he just got unlucky timing. He was peeking into A main, most likely, and we just didn't see it in the demo because the map got a bit of an update. So, sorry for flaming you a bit on that one. That was completely undeserved, and you just got an unlucky timing. Because I'm assuming that you're not just holding a wall this round either. The CTs are in a really awkward spot here. They do have man advantage, so they don't need to, they're not too desperate for info. Not a good smoke, though. So the reason this is a bad smoke is just because you threw it too early. This is a really good smoke, but this is a pretty safe angle to just jiggle, because you've been pretty much here this whole round, so I think you should know that they can't go house. Though your teammate did just spot CT, so actually, no, I guess you kind of have to. If you lose control of this angle, then, and they can be on your left here, you can't jiggle it as safely. But I think the main thing you probably could have done here is just never leave this angle, just always jiggle here and spot the house cross, because then your opera doesn't have to worry about it, and you can save your smoke until you spot someone. I do like the T's really slowing it down, just fully leaving mid, going into an A exec. They are kind of guessing wrong. They're going into a 3A setup, and the opera is going to be able to get multiple kills. So it makes this round really hard, but I do like that they're just kind of attacking it from a different angle. They're not just slowly walking through mid and taking disadvantageous fights or anything. They're resetting and putting on and just going into a full take for them, because it's a lot harder to progress through mid once you lose that B lurk. And as well, once you lose that B lurk, it's harder for the CTs to respect the fact that you can be going B, because now from their perspective, you could pretty much need to jump up cat to get B, but once you reset, you could be going through T spawn to B ramp here. I think the main downside is that you didn't take the time to put pressure like you could be going up cat. There were some flashes, maybe make noise jumping up or something before you left mid to kind of clear the CTs out of B. Makes it easy to keep that A stack. But we do have another fast B, and they really catch him off guard. Has a lot of nades in his hand, and they get the first 2 entries. So This is a play that I used to really like, though it hasn't been as I haven't really done it as much lately, but you're essentially just doing a really fast take and you're throwing like no utility just to try to catch the tees off because they don't know that they need to throw their counter util yet because they don't hear any smokes coming in or flashes, so they can't just like have a nade out and counter your util with their util. It lets you kind of like get some space up. It's really hard to, you need to call it at the right time, but they found the right time to call it here. So I really like these plays where you just kind of go without util and catch CTs off guard. Unfortunately though, the fast mid push does get them an early flank that just catches them off guard, so might not be able to convert this after plant. We'll be going into overtime here. Another mid take. This has been really working out well for the CTs this whole half, so the Ts kind of need to figure out a way to do it. Their response to it seems to pretty consistently be to just fight it head on here. What I'd kind of like to see the Ts try, instead of just going fast mid to counter the CT fast mid, because then you're just kind of playing flashbang wars. You're hoping that you have better flashes than them, or hit better timings, or just don't get randomly sprayed by someone full blind through a smoke. What you could do is you could go back to those like early A takes. Like if they're double pushing down mid, it means this guy's like on an island A. Though it's a lot harder when you know that they might have an op, which he has had a few times this half. So what you could do as well is try to just like play for late mid so that they're using all this util to go down mid early, and then you just wait 30 seconds and then go out mid later. Or you can try to go up cat and split. So you can have like one person maybe throw an HE into the elbow smoke and some flashes, distract them, make it hard for them to jump up here, and in the meantime you just maybe throw an early cave smoke like this one from spawn and have numbers go up cat so that you can take these fights from cat not going through a smoke, and with your later flashes it'll be harder for you to get counter flashed by the CTs, you're not going through a smoke, and then this guy can just go out elbow late to help you guys get the trades. But nice job keeping, like, not giving the CTs too much momentum here, not overcommitting, going for trades. Bit unfortunate there. I think just got a kind of bad timing after the cave smoke faded. They do go for like the later mid take though, which is kind of what you want to see against these aggressive mid plays, because now they do get the mid control, though they are just kind of split up a bit and kind of still walking into a bit of a CT setup. They clear it out really nicely though, and all of a sudden it's a 3-on-3. And they're just going faster than Donut. Opera misses a shot, and now you have all the sight because of that. I think one thing that can be really good for Oppers on A when you lose that mid control is, instead of playing in temple or like on this wall here where you kind of just need to hit a shot, and if you don't you're gonna have to fall back and be locked out of the round, is go into big box where you get a slightly more of an off angle where players are coming out here and they need to clear their right and their left and be worried about big box. Gives you more off angles to play and makes it a lot harder for the Ts to get onto site, and it puts you in a spot where you can multi-frag a bit more effectively, because like here, if you're just playing from here, the most you can ever do is one. You get one kill and then you have to fall. You can't really re-peek effectively, whereas this you can go left, right. You're definitely more committed, but it gives you a lot more opportunity to make things happen. But either way, it was a really good retake from the CTs, and it gives them a 1-round lead. They were down 12-6. They've won 7 rounds in a row now, so really nice adjustments from them, but a bit unfortunate from All1 to not be able to close it out. And I really like this boost. This is a really good boost to be doing. I think it's the first time they've gone for it. But yeah, what you notice there is the player on the bottom didn't need to crouch or anything. There's a little ledge here, so you can just jump from this like elevation change you see on the map onto your teammate's head and go straight up. It makes it really fast and easy. Unfortunately, they did miss their elbow smoke a bit, so it makes it a bit riskier, or the demo might just be bugged. But yeah, it's a really nice way to get a fast peek down onto cat, so I really like seeing them do that. I want to point it out. Another fast B, but again, nice job being on the same page from the CTs. All 4 of them are in the same area, coming from the same spot. You don't have anyone like long or sight trying to like 1vx stop this site exec. They're just playing retake. They're saying, okay, yeah, you have B site, but we have all the cave and your flank, so we're gonna be able to retake this on you. I think once you're in this position as the Ts, especially without the long smoke up, you need to cross cave here and fight it and try to take long. They will try to go into cave though, which works surprisingly well for them, and they're actually going to be able to win this. They should be able to win this round now from this position, but it was definitely a sketchy after plant spot when you have 4 people on the flank and you don't have any side control. I think Critical Fev does a really good job taking it along, because that's kind of the... Maybe they might not have known how many were flank, I guess, but when you see no one on site like that, no one's spamming these smokes, it means they're most likely in cave, so a cave molly or flash and trying to cross long would have been really good. I think potentially from the tees, but they are able to make it work. They're much more aware of the flank as well this round, which is I think the big thing. So they're able to find the kills, get a kill into cave as well, and make that a really favorable after plan from what was a really awkward spot. And the tees learning from the mistake they made in the first half. So in the first half, they were going A lot at the start of the half, and then once they got up to 12-6, they stopped doing it. They tried to change it up. They overthought it. It's like, oh, we've been going A a lot. They're probably going to try to make an adjustment towards playing A. But they go B, and one of the adjustments they made was to just kind of push down ramp, maybe a little bit out of frustration at losing A few times, and they get triple or doubled up and lose the round because of it. Then they go mid, lose the round, and then they try to go A, but now the CTs have an op, more money, or no, it wasn't op. He had the molly on the sign, so they have better util and are more prepared for the A exec, I guess, and they can feel more comfortable, I guess, playing more for it since that was working. This time they have the B rush that works really well. They found a way to counter this mid push that the CTs are doing that they've been struggling to find an answer for, and so they just do it again. They make it on the CTs to find a way to stop it. So let's see if the CTs did find a way. They try to boost deep long. They do get a pick off of it. Good reaction since you saw that they didn't smoke long the previous rounds. But the T's do get some favorable trades until the nade comes in. I like the op just kind of plays, stay alive, play for the retake, because they have the fast flank coming out, and he gets 2 really fortunate lineup from him. And they hear the other guy in cave throw the molly too, so difficult 1v3. But he does turn into 1v2. Not able to close it out. So good adjustment from the CTs there to, instead of like play as heavily for 4 people on the flank, they instead have 1 person play long and the op. I don't know if he rotated in or he started there. He must have started there. So they just started there and went for the boost back long, seeing that they didn't have a long smoke last round, and it works out really well for them, and they still get the fast flank coming in from their aggressive mid. And that's been working well from their entire CT side. We do see all one once again playing towards A. A bit of an, I think, missed fake A smoke coming out, trying to set up this B split. And the CT's really not playing with a lot of info. They do have mid control, but that's about it. If the T's can just smoke long off here, it'll be really hard for the CTs to win this round, but they do know for it. They have 4B, they're just all playing in spots where they're behind the smokes. They leave their mid control, leave their player at A, and go for 4B. But wow, yeah, even behind the smokes, it's just really hard for the T's to actually get on site with all the spam coming out. And the house lurk doesn't make it through either, so now it should just be a really impossible after plant to win, and they don't even get the bomb down. Really nice job from the CTs. It seems like they didn't have a lot of info, but the fact that they had all of mid, and I guess the T side, 5TC, they were, anytime they were going A, they were doing it pretty early. So having mid info, the round being later, I think they felt pretty comfortable leaning towards B, and I think they must have had some other info that I missed to commit 4 rotates over there as well, or maybe they just saw the nades coming in. But yeah, good reaction from the CTs there to get in the right spot. It makes that round really hard from the T side as well. Now more of a default coming in from the T side. It looks like they're going to be doing the mid take I was talking about. I think that's a really interesting way that they did it. So they're throwing this shelf smoke early in the half so that they could take cave with it early in the first half. And this time they're flashing through it to fight mid against, which, I don't know. I think that's really interesting. I don't know that I've necessarily seen it before. I'm sure some team has done it. Maybe that's where they got the idea, but it's a really interesting idea to just go through this smoke, make it kind of look like they're taking up shelf. I know if, as a mid player, if I'm like holding here from down, I'm calling to my cave player, watch out, they're probably going fast cave on you. I might hold the smoke, but I probably won't. If anything, I might be like playing more aggressive here and looking for an elbow walkout or just falling back. more passive, so it does give them some favorable fights, and they do find the donut guy, because I would not be expecting them to flash through this smoke at all, so pretty interesting stuff from them. And it works out well. They take space with it too. A little unsure where to go next. They do finally get onto Donut, but they do have a house lurk, and they're trying to go into Donut, so maybe trying to do too many things here, potentially. But if this house lurk can get into a good spot, you could still win the round for him, but the CTs are much more aware of it this time. They do finally get the trade to come out, and now that kill really lets this house lurk get into a spot where he could potentially make something happen. Does win the fight, and they find the guy tree, so it ends up working out really well, even though they don't have the best trades going into Donut. Nice job slowing it down, though, once again. A lot of teams might overreact, try to like overcommit to get those trades, but it's nice to, if you're going to have this lurk go into house, it's nice that they're giving him time to actually make a play, because he just needs to wait for that smoke to fade, and they give him just enough time and don't overcommit to trying to make the A split happen. Nice after plant there too. You have the flash to get info. Really nice use of their util. And they hear the smoke come out and double swing. Really nice job. Well played for them. It's really nice to peek out before that smoke lands like they did, because if that smoke goes up and they tap the bomb, all of a sudden you need to have someone, maybe even both of you, spam the smoke if you don't get an insta kill. And if he's not on that bomb, it can get scary. Or if he is on that bomb and you're just missing the spam, it gets really scary. So good job to peek before the smoke pops. Now 5TC, they were down 12-6 here to start this game, and they're on the verge of being able to win in overtime. They are able to take mid aggressively, and they get into Donut. This has been a weak spot kind of all game. Or not a weak spot, but this is where they found the most success, is these A splits. Getting into a decent setup, but not able to get the kill coming out of Donut. And they're just able to hold from because the A main player saw him temple. So now it's a really hard 2v3 after plant. I think this angle right here with the rifle is very difficult to hold. So what you probably could do there is, if you have a teammate coming in from temple, is you can just like play to bait them essentially. You just fully hide behind this box at this corner so you're not seen from Donut or A main. And then when your teammate's fighting A main, you can swing to the left and double fight it with them, because they'll need to be wide enough to fight temple. Or you just make them fully commit out Donut so they get out onto site, and then maybe at that point your teammate gets the A main kill, and then they need to come here to trade him, and then that lets you take much more favorable fights, either swinging to the right, catching them chasing, or just waiting for them to get close temple, and then you have a crossfire here. So I think just like baiting your teammate here can be a lot better than trying to hold an angle, because it's a situation where you're trying to have it all by holding Donut and A main, but you need to try to recognize what you can actually play for. So if you're both here, you're either playing for a couple of 1v1s where there's kind of no point, and you don't necessarily need to be together. You're playing for 1v1s on these angles, or you can try to play the setup, essentially. It's the difference between playing a setup or playing for fight. So if you're playing the setup, you just hide here and you rely on them reacting to your teammate making noise for you temple, getting info, and then do something off of that rather than just trying to take your own fight. But again, a really small thing. And a lot of these rounds just like have come down to really small differences. And again, another flash peek. They don't get the info on it this time, but that's fine. They have another flash. Peek again to get him off the plant. They know he's off now. Another nade, just really poking him, prodding at him, making it hard to win this 2v1, and they actually make the comeback happen. So great job from them. I think the main things we saw from this demo are just that on CT side, especially towards B, you just need to make sure your reactions are on the same page and you're doing the same thing. So that double push into Cheetah, the double swing long were great examples of that they did well. But you don't want to try to be like one person playing for retake, one person trying to fight for sight like we did see one round. But it only happened once, which is really nice to see. And other than that, both these teams are playing together really well on their B site. But that's a really common issue that a lot of teams have, is kind of being on different pages for their site holds. So just a good demo to show the importance of that, as well as overall like T-side calling, is that it can be good to just keep things simple and make the CTs respond to it rather than try to outsmart your opponents immediately by changing up from something that's working. That's an issue that I know I have a lot is you expect the CTs to react a certain way, so then you try to beat their reaction with your own reaction to that. But it's really hard to do because if they react slightly differently or essentially just don't make the adjustment you think they're going to make, it can make it really difficult because it puts you into uncharted territory rather than putting the onus on the CT side to actually make the adjustment and make the correct adjustment because they may not know what the correct adjustment is. They may not, even if it's something as simple as just doing an A exec, they may not have played a whole lot of teams that do that, so they may not have a good adjustment for that, or it might just be something that they're weaker at. And even if they make the correct adjustment, you might still win the round because your A exec is just that good. So it's one of those times where it can be better to just trust your team to do something well that you've been doing well so far in the game rather than try to outsmart the other team. And it's a really hard thing to do, and it's something I have a lot of issues with as well because I constantly make that same mistake. So anyway, it's a completely fair thing to do. It's something you need to recognize and also try to work on because I think this is a situation where the T sides their IGL probably tried to overcomplicate things just a little bit and probably could have done better at. I think other than that though, both these teams played really well. A lot of good setups playing together a lot and overall just pretty solid gameplay from both teams. So really nice seeing that.